Hello, this is my latest exhibition here at Cornwall Contemporary in Penzance, and I'm very pleased with it. So this is mostly about the light that we have in Cornwall, which we're famous for. A lot of it, as you can see, as you will see, is about the way light plays on the ocean and across the landscape and up the sides of buildings and cliffs, and can create a drama. And every little drama is unique in its own way. So I'm going to start in the window here. This was a very typical this last winter. We had a lot of very gloomy days, and then you get little shafts of light which penetrate the sky and scatter across the tops of waves. I really like that little painting because it's very subtle and has a sort of brooding quality to it. And likewise, the next couple of paintings are very similar. This is something you get on the north coast. You get these little avenues of light down on the left-hand side there. And everything else is almost dark, and you see the passage of gulls and all sorts of little bits and pieces, and ships as well across the horizon quite often while you're working away. This one here is about all the amazing cumulus clouds. I love cloudscapes. And you can see the light touching the tops of the clouds and give it almost a sort of mountainous quality, and also that they're reflected in the sand as well. You can see the sand in the foreground. And then moving on to a little alcove here, some lovely pots there. Yeah, again, cloud with a sort of a glittering quality across the sea, and hopefully a sense of the sort of fizzing and charging waves. And then next to that is one near Foy. This is Bodinic, near the ferry crossing. And here what the light is doing is falling across the sides of buildings in a quite dark and shady area, which means they're really illuminated. And then moving around again, a very similar situation but a totally different place. So this is Lamorna, one of my favourite places. And I'm situated up on a pile of stones which were part of a quarry years ago, massive squares of stone, looking down on this little row of cottages with the light just crashing down onto the cottages with shade across almost everything else. Very dramatic. Then we're back to a little cloudscape. Again, that's the Atlantic. And one of these days where there's almost nothing happening all day, really dark, and then you start to see little dashes of blue sky, and the clouds just seem to part right at the end of the day. There's a huge burst of light, and that's quite a sort of autumnal happening, that is. And the one next to that is looking across towards the Tate in St Ives. You can see from that too. So this is one of my favourite places. You'll have seen me having painted in. This is Pednivander down near Treen, Logan Rock, and I love the idea of cliff light describing something like a cliff or a field, but this obviously is a huge cliff, and I've tried to make it even more monumental with the lighting, the darkness in the background, the sort of almost thunderous sky, that sort of feeling of impending doom, but the light creating a huge splash of colour with water and the lower part of the cliff. And I do really enjoy doing those sort of more monumental paintings. And next to that is a little picture. This is Porth Lovan. And again, the light just catching the sides of the buildings and the quaysides and the boats. And you realise that without those little dashes of light, there's almost there's nothing going on in a picture at all really until the light describes something. And then around the corner to, I like this one. This is on the coastline between Porthgwarra and Land's End. And I've never known the name of this piece of land, but it's like a sort of dinosaur shape, sort of heading out into the sea. And then obviously, again, there's this constant range of clouds moving across the sea, with the sun shining through, and then those rays of sun splashing across the reflective sea. Yeah, quite exciting. Maybe go to this one here. Again, talking about clouds. So this is, you get these cumulus clouds almost sort of stacking up like a mountain. And they're again, they wouldn't exist without the sun, but you can see the sun just describing one edge. And then below that is Jubilee swimming pool down in Penzance, which is a sort of 20s/30s leader. And again, the shadow changes and changes colour as you get the warmth of the sun or the reflection from one place throwing itself onto the wall, and then you get this beautiful blue shadow, and then in the background quite stormy, so that really throws the foreground into sharp relief. And then the next one is basically a crashing wave with the sun shining through it from behind. So it's sort of, you get that water vapour as it clouds a bit, and then the sun shining through. I love that sort of thing. Real sense of movement. And I do spend a fair amount of time up in Bath and Bristol as well, because I have my boat up there. And this is classically Pulteney Bridge, which is apparently based on the Ponte Vecchio. But again, it's all to do with the light. This is probably late afternoon, and that light situation probably isn't going to last for more than about 40 minutes. But that's reflecting, you get this situation where the light hits the side of the building, and that light then is reflected into the water, and you get a lot of that light and the colour shimmering in the water. And then here's a classic Atlantic situation. This is out near Cape Cornwall Contemporary, and it's not only the light playing on the surface, but it's also, like a lot of the paintings, it's about mark making as well. Really enjoying the marks made with light paint put on and then scoring through with the end of a blade, and then reapplying another colour, the sort of yellowy ochre sort of colour. And likewise with the paint here, you can see the way it's been dragged, and I've really enjoyed that. Go on to this side, here we have, classically on the left we have Mousel with, this is an early morning situation where it's ended up being quite a gloomy day, so there was a bit of soft orange light coming through it in the morning and picking up the buildings and just cutting across the top of that little boat. And it's hard to believe that the colours are very similar to reality. Really pleased with that one. And then we're leaping off towards Snowdonia here. this is Llyn Idwal, which is I have family up in Snowdonia, and I go there quite often. And this is it's an amazing spot. You have an area where you go from one lake, and then you climb up a bit, and then you've got another lake, and then there's a mountain at the top there, which is quite a well-known little range of peaks. Absolutely stunning. And then we're now here back in Cornwall. This is again looking at that sort of the way the light hits vertical surfaces, and then we've got these two are foy, and so it's just the way that the light hits the sides of the buildings with the dark clouds in the background, throwing the brightness of the white cottages into the foreground, and likewise in the bottom, a lot of movement, a lot of dark and light. I'm pleased with those two. And again, Snowdonia with this is the same lake as the other one, but just turning, rotating and looking, obviously a different day, very different situation. So the light here is just everywhere, really, really bright, and picking out every little tiny movement across the surface of the hills in the background and up onto the mountains. And so we get little silvery colours moving through the greens. Green's a really difficult colour to paint, and sort of for it to not look sort of synthetic. But the tricks are to have little bits of pink and orange sometimes, just to, and that for some reason that device really works as far as green's concerned. And you see here, there's an amazing spot. You can see here the clarity of the water is so clear, and you can see all the stones in the foreground under the water, crystal clear. And then this is along the north coast, looking from the coast near St Just, and you can see the light pouring through the clouds. Another one of those days where there's very little sun, but when it comes, it's really exciting, and just picking out little bits and pieces and then moving off and away from you. And this one here is near Padstow. There's a little creek there, and I go and use my canoe from there, and you can see the light, again the light pouring across the tops of the hillsides, and little bits of cloud creating those purple shadows. A little bit of light catching the edge of that cottage there. And then as we turn around, we've got Porthcurno. And yeah, so you can see I love gorse, and it's quite a difficult thing to paint without getting into too much detail. But it's such a beautiful shape, that headland, with some of the mimic theatre buildings up on the tops there, and the turquoise of the ocean and the sort of pinky cement colours of the sand. And then here we go back to green again now. So these two paintings are up near where my boat is. The one on the top is from an aqueduct, standing on an aqueduct looking down. I think it's the River Frome actually, and the greens, I mean that is the colour of the greens, it's so bright, and but it's absolutely gorgeous colours. But there's, it's a lovely thing to be on a bridge or on an aqueduct or something, because there's so much. I always remember that when being in London, is a point at which you get a sense of freedom, is because you've got this avenue of light in front of you, but also the huge sense of space because you're on a bridge. And then below that, you can see recently we've had a lot of rain, obviously, especially in the southwest, and there's a huge current, and you can see I've tried to emulate the current in paint there as the river shoots by, But you know, again, the light is creating your ability to see that because of the way it's hitting the tops of the little ripples and everything as the water charges by. And then again, back to light on buildings, those vertical surfaces. This is one of my favourite places. Again, this is New Lynn. I used to have a studio here. I had a studio just in that building there. And it's such a lovely place because it's really functional. All the buildings are functional. There's no real aesthetic concern gone into them, but as a result, it's a thing of beauty. And I love this blue as well, the way the sun's catching that and making it really shine out, and the little patch of red there. And then we're moving on again to the sea and the shore. And this was a painting that was quite different when I first started, and I sort of thought it was finished. I wasn't really that pleased with it. And then I had gone out, so it was in the studio, but I'd been out for an evening and seen something and thought, I know what to do with that painting now. So I went back to the studio and just applied quite a lot of paint very quickly. These yellows especially were new to the situation and really made it sing, and I really like that now. It's very exciting. And then this one here to the right is about, this is Senham Beach, looking along towards the headland, and with sort of Land's End over the hill on the left hand side, but the rain's coming down and the light is shining through the rain, which makes it slightly opaque in places. And that, you know, the light does so much work for you.